Hello everyone, it's Annette Green here. It is week 42 of 2025, where every week I do a craft or craft related video. And if you've followed me for very long, you know how much I love to make these little TNs, traveler's notebooks, from trips that I have taken. And I just love how chunky and full they get, and decorating the covers. As you can see here, all these different ones. I've talked about these many times in videos before, and there's videos in a playlist that you can watch if you want to look back at any of these. So that's what we're going to do today with a brand new journal. Okay, and even though I've decorated covers many times before, I'm going to decoupage with a napkin on the front of this one. And I just wanted to show you, this was my little piece of Dove chocolate the other day. It said, "Be brave enough to be bad at something new." And I thought that was excellent. That's excellent advice, to try something you have never tried, exactly the same, and, discover if there's mistakes that you make or things that you can learn. So that's what we're going to do. I'm taking this XL Passport Stonewash Gray Passport album from Elizabeth Craft Designs. And I'm going to decorate the cover for my trip to Banff, Canada, which is coming up very soon. Next week, I'll be flying on Tuesday. So I want to get the album kind of decorated and ready, get some pages in here, and, be ahead of the game before the trip. So even though this is a Christmas napkin per se, I think it's going to be great for the front of this album because of the pine cones and the pine, and, that's how it is in Banff. And then I also have Once in a Lifetime paper pack. I think it's probably a double pack in here, so I got things cut apart from a different project. Once in a Lifetime, did I say that? This is from Esther for Elizabeth Craft Designs. I'll link everything below, of course, like always. But I felt like this particular color palette would work very nicely for some of the pages and embellishment inside the Stonewash Gray XL. So that's something. And then I have this idea in my head. This is also trying something new, hoping it works. I want to get page protectors in here because, and we don't really have any for this size. The reason being is, as I flip through some of my old ones I just showed you, the photos sort of are facing each other, and maybe there's a little extra glue somewhere, and they're sticking together as I open the pages, and I really don't want that. So I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to experiment with a regular office page protector and cut it and then reseal it. I have that fuse tool. I'll show you. We'll see if that works out. All right, first things first. I don't think I need to remove this, but I am going to measure this because I'm not going to just, cover the whole thing. I want a little bit of that gray showing around the edges. I've got me some Paper Crafting Mod Podge, matte water-based Mod Podge, and a sponge and a little cup for that. And then if you're using napkins, just remember, I think this is best to do, is to peel away the ply. Probably should have cut it first while it was a little more sturdy. So maybe do that instead of what I'm doing. Okay, and I don't think I need that for anything, but I'm not going to throw it away just yet. Okay, and I'm just kind of turning this napkin and looking for the best spot. It does look like it sort of repeats anyway, but I'm kind of thinking up here so we can see a lot of those pine cones. So I'm going to cut this down to size, okay, and I have determined I'm going to do 4 3/4 wide by 5 tall. You could do 5 by 5, but I feel like it starts to curve into the bend of the album. And I just put a brand new blade in my Cricut craft knife here. And I'm being very, very gentle because it's so very delicate. And this is just a basic quilting ruler, which is really handy for holding everything down and making 2 cuts in one go. All right, so that looks kind of pretty. And I can turn it however I want. I kind of like... Well, I have to put Banff on the front of here. I want to put a title. So maybe I'll have the acorns at the bottom and then the Banff label at the top. Okay, that's the plan. So I'm going to get the Mod Podge and get this on here. Okay, got my Mod Podge, got my brush, I've got my album, and I wanted to see, these magnets are so nice and strong on the Glassboard Studio mat. I can kind of hold that down over there. I have 4 of these magnets. I could really hold this down kind of flat, so I don't have to worry about that. Now I should scooch my paper. This is my background paper just to catch any extra glue or anything. And I know that this does not go all the way out to the edge, so it gets close. So I'm going to put the glue, the Mod Podge, like right onto the album. If I tried to do it on the back of the napkin, I think it would just get so flimsy and probably even tear trying to pick it up. So I'm just going to do my best, and I feel like this is going to dry clear. I don't think we'll see any shiny glue because it's matte Mod Podge. I'll just get as close out to where I think it's going to land with a nice thin coat. And we'll do a top coat later after it dries. But I think this is going to be so pretty with this napkin on here. Okay. Kind of want to get it where I want it without having to move it too much because, yeah, it wants to wrinkle right away. So gently smooth out the wrinkles. Looks good. I would not rub a bone folder over this. Oop, see, got to be really careful. Just kind of press it where you see it. I see it kind of curling a little bit around these edges. You can give it a press, but I would not burnish it. And I don't think I would lay anything on top of here to press. I think this is fine what I'm doing here. You can kind of see where you need to press because the napkin is still a little white looking in places, like right here. And if I press it, it goes a little darker. That means it's now into the glue. Okay, so I capped up that leftover Mod Podge, and I'm going to just wrap my little foam brush in a baby wipe to keep it moist so I don't have to wash it out and all that stuff. And put that aside to dry, and then we'll cut our pages for inside. Okay, from this point you can decide, are you just going to cut your pages or are you going to use a die for your pages? Now, unfortunately, so many of the page dies designed by David for Elizabeth Craft Designs have sold out. So this one that I'm showing you, for example, 2159 Remember, is sold out, but here's a big page die. Now, could you not make this yourself? Of course. You could cut to the size and use a little corner punch to cut those cute little corners. So if you don't have the dies, there's always that option. I might use this one just because there's a lot of fun travel stuff on there. The only one that I can see that's still available, other than his brand new release, is the 2015 Journal File XL2. This is like a tab page, which is really great, like a file folder. Now, the other one that has the tabs that you can put at the bottom and the top is sold out. That is Journal File XL1. So 1 and 2, but 2 is the only one available. So, I mean, if you have these to your disposal, those are fun ways to make pages for your XL square. And I think what I'm going to do is just kind of measure this one, which is, let's see, if we go centimeters, maybe it's an even number, almost 25 centimeters, or inches, it's about, I mean, we could really go with 9 3/4. And then the height is just a little under 5, so 4 7/8. Okay, so 9 3/4 by 4 7/8. That's all we have to remember for those page sizes. I really wish I had David's new release because there's so many great things in there, and fall leaves and fun things like that. I'm really hoping that I'm going to get that collection when I go to Banff. And this paper collection is going to be so great for all the documenting of the journey, because you have all these wonderful 3x4 cut-aparts. But I've been picking some papers. This gorgeous paper right here is going to be the first thing we see when we open my album. And the paper collection is great because the other sides are a little more subdued and not super busy, so you don't have to worry about it. So I've picked a handful of blues and grays here. There's another version of that floral right there, and a little more browns and tans. So I'm going to cut a few pages to size. The great thing about the size is 4 7/8. We can get 2 out of each 12 by 12 sheet. So I'm going to just do that right now. And 9 3/4. There is a direction to that type on the back, so you have to kind of pay attention to that. Okay, so that would be like my first page. Let's say this one here. And I don't score down the middle. I don't want to do that. I just give it a fold. A little bit of a soft fold. There's no need to score. It's a TN, so you slide under the elastic bands. Unless you were going to do something where you really felt like it had to be scored, that is not necessary, and you won't get any cracking if you just do a soft fold. Okay, so the method that I like to use, because in your TN you have 3 signatures. I don't know if you can see in this one, there are 3 elastics in there. I don't want to touch the one that's drying over there, but you can see how if you're not careful, like starting out filling it up super full with your blank pages, you don't really want to do that. When you get your pages ready and you get them in here, you're going to see that when you start to add photos and page protectors and ephemera and memorabilia, that it starts to add up very quickly and get super duper thick. So if I checked this old one, I'm looking at how many pages are actually in each signature, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's really the maximum. So I'm going to do 4 on this one, just because I know that I'm going to have some page protectors in here, I think. So what I do is I cut 3 and I just sort of repeat. So this is that one design we saw, and I needed a third one, so I went to that more brown version of the paper. So that will be the beginning of each signature, and then I cut to kind of coordinate these 3. This tan one will go with the brown, and then this one for the third, and then this one with the numbers for the fourth. Okay, and like I said before, you can use like a stub punch. This is the We Are Memory Keepers one, and you can achieve that same, stubbed corner look. But I think I want to do just a very small rounded corner. Just very small. So this is a 3-way corner rounder. It's my favorite one. I'll link it down in my Amazon links. I use this one all the time, and I'm just using the smallest hole, and I think that's what I'm going to like for mine. All right, I have inked all my edges after I rounded them, and my little stacks are ready to go here. Still going to do the whole page protector experiment, but I felt this, and it's quite dry now, so I'm going to do a little top coat. Get those magnets on there again. We can move these out of the way. Okay, and I'm going to go kind of thin again. We can always do a couple of coats, which I think I want to do. And I do see just a tad bit of wrinkling here, so I'm going to be pretty gentle. I don't want to rake across, and I also don't want to see like streaks. So you could get this on here, and I've done this before, where you can use your finger to spread it and swirl it instead of having these stroke marks. I do believe that Mod Podge sort of levels out itself, but if you were concerned about it, you could definitely do this. Just don't put too much pressure, because I can feel and see those wrinkles. They're very slight, but they're there. So if you pressed too hard, you might actually put a hole in your whole situation here. So just be very careful. I'm not pressing, I'm just gliding my finger softly across. And I think that's going to work out nice. It's looking, oh, careful. Make sure you get your edges too. You want that to seal. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and set it aside to dry. Second time. I've sent my husband Paul off to the store to get some brand new page protectors, nice clear ones, because I do have a ton of these, but they're kind of old. They've gone a little frosty, but this is a good one to experiment with for what I'm thinking about. So I have this fuse tool. Here's fuse. It is by We Are Memory Keepers. I'm pretty sure. Yes. And this is what it looks like. It's got a little rolly thing here with little teeth, and I'm going to plug it in and heat it up. Has this cute little stand here to hold it so you don't have to put it down on anything, and then the metal ruler for guiding you along the way. I pulled out my little protective rubbery mat here, and I got my tool heating up, and on its little stand got my ruler. So the whole idea with this thing is this is going to get hot. That metal's going to get very hot. And when you go across a page protector or any kind of, plastic sleeve like this, it's going to melt and make a little perforated line, kind of like what's already in a page protector right there. Can you see the little perforated lines? So it's going to create that, and it's going to seal it like a pocket. So you can really kind of customize any kind of page protector like this. Okay, so while that's heating up, I know that this fits an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So 8.5 is not as wide as I want it to be if it's folded in half to be one of the page inserts in my journal. So I'm going to turn it this way and make this be the 4 7/8, and from top to bottom, bottom to top, and then this will be the 9 3/4. So I'm going to go cut this right now. Okay, and it cut very easy on my paper trimmer. So this extra right here, I would not throw this away because you could make more little pockets or flip flaps or something like that with that piece if you wanted to make another custom sized protector. Okay, I don't know if this is warm enough yet. It doesn't, oh, it feels pretty hot. So I think I can do this right on the glass mat, but I think I'm going to try it right here on my rubber mat. I don't think that'll burn. Gosh, we'll find out together. Okay, here's how it goes. I got the metal ruler close to the edge. I want to seal off this right edge because right now it's just open. And I want to get a little closer. And because I'm on that rubber mat, everything's sticking nice, which is great. But to scooch over, you got to pick it up and start again. Okay, let's see if this is hot enough. I'm going to go kind of slow. I am very close to the edge. So you might consider doing this step before you trim it, like mark it out. Yeah, that just didn't work at all. Okay, this is why we test it. Clearly it's not hot enough because it did not melt through both layers. So I'm going to give it a minute. Okay, I tried it a couple times. It is finally hot enough. I'll do one to show you. And you also have this middle slit here. If you were worried you'd go off track, you could do that. I feel pretty good just leaning the tool against that straight edge. All right, let's do it again so I can show you it actually does work. Okay. So this is the one that didn't work, and the one right next to it is the one that did work. So you just have to wait for it to heat up enough. You can see how many times I tried. So just be patient. Make sure it's almost like to the point where you can smell like a burning smell. I mean, that's the truth. That's when it was ready, when I could smell it. Okay, the only other thing, because I think this is going to work out lovely, the bottom's already sealed, we don't need to do that, is I'm tempted to put one in the middle because even though it's going in the journal and this is where the elastic is going to be, I don't want anything to kind of slide underneath the elastic in the page protector. So that's where I would just measure out half of my 9 3/4, which is 4.5. And so 4 7/8 is half of 9 3/4. So I'll make a little mark with this ruler, 4 7/8. And you can use a Sharpie or just something that you can see the marking. Now this is my practice one, so I don't care too much. When Paul gets here with the new ones, I'll switch. So I would put a little seam right there. Now I'm pretty sure that We Are Memory Keepers still sells this lovely tool. I'm going to look, and if so, if it's on Amazon, I'll link it. I'll link it either way, no matter where I find it. It might be on scrapbook.com. Okay, beautiful. Love it. There it is. Perfect. Okay. So it's very good to experiment like this beforehand. If you have an extra, just try things out, make sure it's ready to go, hot enough, all that stuff. Now you could do your entire album full of page protectors, and instead of doing this, you could cut these pieces to fit in so that every single page is protected. I'm not sure if that's what I want to do just now. I think I just want some paper pages that we can feel the paper and some page protectors. While we're waiting for Paul and we're waiting for our cover to dry, we can work on some details for my Banff label for the front. So I'm taking one of my tags from my tag variety pack, which looks like this. Tag variety pack 2237 with Elizabeth Craft Designs. I'm going to cut this label out, and then I've got the letters BANFF. And I'm getting ready to cut those out using the die Classic Alphabet. So I'm just deciding on color. I like this kind of tealy blue to match. This is just the rest of the napkin. To kind of match that tealy blue we have going there. It's a little smoky, kind of nice. So I'm going to cut that out, and then I think I'm going to pick a dark brown for my letters. And this was just some scrap from when I cut that. So don't throw away your scraps, of course. You can always use those to do some decorating. So I've got my little Empress Mini mat here, magnetic mat. I got some dark brown, and I can cut all this out at one time. So this doesn't have to be straight, of course, and there's only one F, so we'll have to come back and do another F. But let's cut this out. Okay, that looks cute, but I also want to get 2025 on there, and I don't have a stamp that's just the right size for that. So I grabbed the 2175, the Pockets 2 set from Esther, and it has all these numbers, teeny tiny, and I'll cut out 2025 in a nice color. And just so I don't have to struggle, I think I'm going to put some double-sided adhesive. I cut a piece off of the sheets, and I think this is going to be better than trying to put little dots of glue behind all those little numbers. We'll see. Maybe not. But just make sure if you use double-sided adhesive, you want to really burnish that down really well. And we just want to make sure, let's trim off this excess so we don't miss where the adhesive actually is when we go to die cut this. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's pop that out and see how it does. I think it got all the way through. I sent it through 2 times. Yeah, so now you can just pick those off of there, and they're sticky backed. This kind of stays in place, and I can pop those on there. Okay, as I'm going along, of course, I recommend this for you too. Start at the right and move to the left. Keep those letters nice and tight if you're doing something like this, any kind of title. And so I was getting over here and I was thinking, well, I've got so much room over here, and I do have this cute little layer piece that I could put to just dress it up even further. And then I would put the B. It looks like it might have to overlap a little bit. So I'm going to cut some kind of paper with this little guy and show you how that looks. Well, I decided on that same green that we used down here, and I think that looks super cute, inked around the edges, and I didn't have to overlap at all there. And so now I just want to put a little like wax twine, and I happen to just have this nice dark brown color, very waxy. I'm going to put that through, and I think we're done with the label part. Tie this into a little bow, or you can leave it like that. I think I will put a little bow. And wax twine is great because it sticks to itself, and that little bow will hold for a good long time. If you just had regular twine that was soft, like cotton, you could put a dot of glue on it so it didn't untie over time, but I think that's going to be cute. Just to kind of look, that is going to be so pretty. This is not quite dry, so I can't mess with it, but I think that's going to be really pretty on there. I love that. All right, while we're waiting for that to dry, what I do then is take my papers and start building my signatures. So there's 4 in that one. This will be the middle one. And I'm hearing Paul coming home. I can hear the garage door down there. Now I just saw the writing on this is upside down. So let's turn that around. And there's that one. And signature 4. Make sure all the writing is the right way. There we go. Okay, so I've got my signature 3, that is. So I've got them ready, and then we'll do the page protector thing. Okay, Paul has returned from Walmart, and these are the page protectors I am going to use. Heavyweight, clear. Okay, here's one. Okay, I'm going to trim this one. I'm going to go a little bit deeper this time. I'm going to make it 5. Instead of 4 7/8, just to give us that little bit of extra at the top of each pocket. And 9 3/4, we'll add just a little bit to that as well, just for the seal. So just another 1/8, 9 7/8. Okay. Got my little metal ruler. Going to come in a little bit shy of 1/8. Do my little seal. Now this has been plugged in for a while, so it is definitely hot enough. Don't need to worry about that. I did a little skid right here, so I'm going to go over this spot one more time a little bit. Okay, looks good. All sealed up perfectly. Now, I just have to decide, am I going to do that center if I put little papers in there? And I think I will. Okay, I have a little mark where my center is. The cord on this thing is not super long, so just know that when you're working with it. Okay, another little skid here. Starting off, I'm a little too fast, I think. Okay. That looks pretty darn good. You probably can't see that at all, huh? But I do have 2 pockets and a sealed up side, and now this can go into my journal. All right, so I have decided that I'm going to use 2 of these per signature. So I just need to grab a bunch more and do those, get them all sealed up, and then I'll show you my next plan. All right, for my journal, I have decided that I'm going to go every other page with a page protector. So I took the ones, like the 2nd and the 4th sheet in each signature. So this one will be cut as well. And I cut it down to size at 4 5/8 by 4 7/8, which was what it already was. So I didn't have to cut this part at all, just this. Had to cut away a little bit from the center and then re-ink those edges. So now this will slide in here. And, we really didn't need to round those corners, but it's all right. Now that we're doing it in this order, it's fine. It'll still look very pretty. And that looks good. Now I can see I'm not quite in the center with my little thing here, so I have a little more space on this one. But isn't that nice? So beautiful. And that will stack right in here. And so the page protectors stick out a little bit, but that doesn't bother me. By the time I get everything in here, it's going to be fine. So this will be next, and then this one will get another page protector. So once again, we already have the 4 7/8 this way. We'll go 4 5/8 from each center point out, so we can maintain those rounded corners on the outside edge. Just re-ink these and pop them into the sleeve. So I'm going to go through and do that with the other 2 signatures, and I will be back. Okay, excellent. We have those all set. This is as fat as this will be to start off with, no photos or anything. And I just checked my cover and it feels pretty dry. I don't want to rush it though, but I can open it and work on the inside covers. So I'm going to be just very careful. I want to dress this up in here, and we do have these cute little pockets, And rather than covering the pockets, I think I'm going to put a liner like that into each one, glue it right to the album. So I'm going to take my little corner rounder again and just round that top right corner on that one and the top left corner on this one. And if need be, we can re-ink a little bit. Okay, and then I'll just use some liquid glue on the back of that, like I could use the Mod Podge, but I think I'm going to use art glitter glue, and I will glue that right in place like that. Okay, I did that off camera just to make sure it went in there great. So I'll do the other one on the front. Just be real careful. Okay. And I realized I did not give you the measure that I used, and that was 3 7/8 inches by 5 for these pieces, and that worked out perfectly, and that just looks so much nicer. So if we were to go forth, we could get these into the little elastics. So pleased. This is just, going to be very basic to start with. If you've watched any of my videos, I typically will do this part and then, of course, embellish, add photos, add all kinds of journaling. But for now, I just wanted to get it started before the trip. I can take notes in a little notebook of everything that's happened. But you see how thin it is. But you wait and see. It'll be just like that other one we showed you at the top. Okay, so now we can get back to the cover. I think I want to do, because we've only done one coat, I'm going to do one more coat of the Mod Podge before we put our label on there. Okay, I did a nice little spread with the sponge brush, and now I'm just kind of smoothing out all those strokes by doing little circles gently with my finger. And I'm going to give this a good long time to dry. I don't want to rush this stage. I want it to really seal. Okay, I just checked it. It's still just a tiny bit tacky, so I'm not going to rush it. Instead, I thought we'd do something fun here. Els with Elizabeth Craft Designs has been getting back to the mini pancake maker, which is over here, and you can barely see it, but the cord is very short. So I thought I'd do a couple of little shrink charms. And I use this shrink film from the craft store. This is the super sanded. They have clear, they have colors. And I die cut my little bear, who is quite a bit bigger than this. This is from my Forest Friends and Frame die. There's the bear. Some of these, like the moose and the deer, the antlers are far too delicate to do that shape. So I just did the bear because he's pretty simple. And then I stamped a little fern from my stamp set, which is called Happy. It's an older one. There it is right there. And I shrank that one. The thing you have to remember before you shrink is to make sure you punch a hole if you're going to have these be charms. So I've used my crocodile there. I've done a little mushroom. This is full size, and I'm just going to stick it in the pancake maker and give it a minute. And then I'll have these little cute charms I can hang off the elastic in my album. You can see it. So cute. It gets quite a bit darker if you've colored it with alcohol markers like I did. I'm just going to put my little clear block on there for a second, make sure it's nice and flat. And so I have a kind of brass jump ring here. I could add them to this, or sometimes what I like to do is get one of these lobster claw kind of clasps and attach this to the ring and then attach all the charms to it. So that's an option that you have. I've done that before. So what I would do here is get the elastic, put the big jump ring on there, put the little lobster claw on there, and then each one of these charms will get its own smaller jump ring that we can get onto the lobster claw. So that's what I'll do now. Okay, and that looks pretty cute on there. All three of them on there. So I'm going to put my label on top of here, but I was going to say that if you have never done the whole pancake maker shrink film fun, I do have a video that I will link to. And also, if you are not already following the Elizabeth Craft Designs page, the YouTube channel has countless videos. And Els, like I said, recently has been doing some newer shrink charms. And she has all kinds of great tips on how she does hers. So I will link to their channel. Make sure you subscribe. And then I'll also list that video of mine when I first started using that pancake maker and having a lot of fun with it. We were all inspired by Marian Emberson in the beginning because she was the one that kind of started this whole pancake maker craze. Okay, I've got my Banff label, and that was 3-in-1 glue. I don't think it's critical what type of glue you use, but I just know that I can rely on that. And this is still tacky, but I'm so impatient and I want the video to be done for today. So that's where I'm going to stop. And we'll just pretend that this is closed with our elastic and we have our cute little charms hanging off of there. I'll take a nice picture for the post so you can see it all finished when it's dry. But there we go. We got our little clear pages, separating every page so photos don't touch photos and we don't stick together anymore. We got things in our pocket and we have a pretty cover. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I thank you so much for watching. Next week I will be in Banff teaching at the Creative Retreat, which is what this is all about. So we won't have a video next week on Monday like normal, but shortly thereafter. So I will see you then. Thanks for watching.